everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Richard Lewis Show. I'm your host, Richard Lewis, and joining me this time around, because it's the time of the show when we have to get a guest on, it's not just me ranting about politics, although we're going to do some of that probably. It is, of course, Janko, who, for those of you who don't know, and I can't imagine you'd be watching my show and didn't know, he's one of the world's leading Counter-Strike analysts, a former pro from Serbia, and someone who's enjoyed a meteoric rise to fame over the last couple of years. So, Janko, thanks very much for coming on. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for having me.
No, well, let's start talking about it, because the reason we had to do it at this specific day is the amount of events you've been fucking going to lately. It does seem like an insane schedule. Like these are the times I'm really glad I'm not a freelancer, because I don't know how you guys are coping with all of the travel and everything right now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it can get a little bit rough every now and then, like June and July, with how everything worked out with the major is pretty intense, because the major itself, it's not just the major, it's the major qualifier, then at least one minor, or maybe you do a few of them, and on top of the other tournaments, like obviously ESL 1 Cologne, you don't want to miss that tournament ever. And then like I had ECS finals, I did most of the online season, so then, you know, it's kind of makes sense for me to do the finals as well. And some things you kind of schedule them like months in advance, for example, like Cologne or like ECS. But then, you know, PGL pops up and it fills out a couple of days, and then it's like, okay, it's in Europe, it's like an hour's flight from Serbia, why don't do that as well? And yeah, it adds up, but we're all waiting for that sweet player break. Have some time off. I mean, for me, it's
August,
not even
right?
Yeah, for me, it's not even I'm not the worst one off. You know, I make it so I can't handle it, like being more than maybe 4 weeks, a month or so away from home, then I start losing my mind. But you have, like, for example, Matt Sadokis, he doesn't see home for like 3 or 4 months in a row. Jason as well, like, goes home very rarely and only for a few days, because for them, if they come to Europe, obviously makes sense to stay longer than go back and forth all the time. But yeah, I at least get to see my friends and family every now and then.
Well, I mean, you're still based in Serbia, right? I mean, so that's an interesting question right there, and it'll lead nicely in to the serious shit I want to talk about. But I mean, why are you choosing sort of still to be, to still be based there? Because there's a lot of people I know are like, well, if you want a good base operations, maybe you choose Germany, and it's just a hop, skip, and a jump across. ESL, for some of the freelancing guys, it kind of makes up like 80% of their work. So some people want to be kind of local to it. And I don't know what it's like flying to America from Serbia for any American events that you work in, but I imagine it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is, seeing as how I'm from Serbia, it's not really that simple to just move to a country inside the European Union and say, hey guys,
right.
What's up? I'd like to live in Germany now, or Sweden, or whatever. So that would be a process in itself. Secondly, it's like Serbia is so cheap, man. That it's, everything is like the cost of life and all of that is just very, very cheap. And most importantly, like, all of my friends are here, and I love spending time with my friends and family as much as I can. So I guess all of those things. When it comes to flights, really, like to the US, it's not that big of a pain, because I'm one flight away from Frankfurt, and then when I get there, it's usually just one more flight to all the major US cities. So it's not really that big of a deal. It's certainly not as big of a pain in the ass for me to seriously contemplate moving into a different country, because what's the point of just being somewhere alone, like a dog?
Well, yeah, right. It sucks, man. I mean, you kind of have to sign up for that life, when I came out here to work for Turner, it was just like, well, I guess I'm kind of lucky that I know a few people in the States, because I had to cut all my family loose, all my friends loose. Relationship was stone fucking dead, I suppose. So that was one less thing. by that point, you know. There was no better feeling than saying to my long-term girlfriend at the time, so I got this awesome job. I'm going to be on television. Do you want to come to America with me? Nah, you're all right, actually. So that kind of...
You hate to hear that.
Yeah, it was just like, no. I was like, okay, right. I sense there's some underlying problems in this relationship that maybe I haven't picked up on prior to now. But, you know, like, when I went out to that event at Serbia, that World Championship, dude, like, I had such a good fucking... It's like mixed. The event was ass. The event sucked balls, right? No two ways about it. But Serbia was fucking great. I mean, we had a good old party, and, you know, it was a beautiful city. The people were super friendly. It sounds like such a mad cliche, and you're probably not supposed to say this stuff anymore. The women are fucking attractive, all right? So
that goes without saying at this point.
Yeah, right. But I had a real good time out there.
Yeah, and that's even, you have to remember, that was still like at the beginning of my esports career. So I was fucking still dirt poor, even for Serbia standards. So I couldn't even like show you guys a proper time out, as Jason got to experience. So he's been raving about Serbia for a while now, and I have, you know, Dan already, DDK, wants me to tell him when I have a weekend off so he can come over and experience Serbia. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, the people here are super friendly, super chill. I think there's a lot of stereotypes about Serbia from the past, you know, when maybe even the internet wasn't as widespread, so people would just, you know, listen to the news and believe what's being said there. But yeah, it's an amazing, beautiful country. It has its problems, of course, like any other. But if you're just passing by or here to have a good time, then it's pretty cool.
I think the best part of it, the funniest part, was when we were trying to find that nightclub, and we went to get some money out of an ATM, and while the card was in the ATM, the sort of green and black that you're used to when you're typing in the numbers, it just disappeared, and someone's Windows desktop just came up. Like on a fucking ATM. We were like, oh no, we just got rolled. It was like you just saw someone's mouse like just moving like on this ATM. Like, yeah, well, that's that then.
That's the money gone.
Yeah, I've been robbed. It's fine. But yeah, you're right. I mean, like, it feels like we've all come a long way since then, in terms of like status, money, the amount of you know, kind of events we're working. But just before we get into that, I do want to go back, because you're talking kind of about the history of Serbia. Now, the reason I bring this up, right, is there was this line. You were doing a show with Henry and Sadikist, right? And it was like they had something called Drop the Bomb TV, right? Which would be great if you were a, you know, DJ. I don't know. I suppose it works in CS as well. That's fine. But anyway, you know, you made a joke sort of about like Drop the Bomb. You know, kind of described your childhood in Serbia. And,
no,
you know,
it was way better than that, Rich.
Sorry, I'm playing it down. Feel free to tell a joke again.
So it was like it was a Q&A part at the end of the show, and someone asked like, what did you dream about what was your like childhood wish, or what was your dream, or something like that when you were a kid. And so they go first to say something like, I don't know, Matt wants to be a fucking racer or a hockey player. Henry wants to be a lead singer in a band. I don't know. And I just say, well, I just wanted for the bombs to stop dropping out of the sky.
So fucking. But here's the thing. Like, is that legit? I mean, is that something that you remember, or were you kind of playing up to that a little bit?
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember it for sure. You can't really forget that, even if you'd want to. But I don't know, talking about it and remembering it sounds pretty surreal, because, you know, I mean, I was 7 or 8 at the time, so I was still like a kid. But like everyone around you, family first and foremost, parents, right? They want to make it so like everything's fine, you know, just business as usual. Yeah, you're not going to school. Yeah, you kind of have to stay out of the city. Yeah, when you hear this sound, you probably need to go to the shelter just in case. But, you know, it's very weird just chilling, because I went with my whole family, like to, I guess you would call it a suburb, but it's like not suburb as people imagine. It's basically like a small village outside of the city, right, where my grandfather has like a small estate. Right. So it was a little bit outside of the city. I wasn't even in Belgrade at the time. So we were there like 10, 15 of us, whole family. So I remember like my grandfather has like a small like vineyard there, like not for wine but for grapes basically, and we were just like painting it or some shit, and you just hear like and like just bombs like demolishing like a factory that's relatively close, which is like the one of that was like the big car manufacturer. That's where Fiat is now. And one of my grandpa's friends like spent his whole life working in that factory, and he's just like, well, I guess I don't have a job now.
Yeah, you're not coming into work on Monday.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I don't know. It's very surreal because you spend time, like I was a kid, so we were just like, you play football or something like there with other kids in the neighborhood, and then you just hear the sirens. I'll never forget the sound of those sirens, man. And it's just like, well, back to home you go, or if you're in the city, you have to go in the shelter and just hope for the best, pretty much. But it's like Serbians are like type of a people where we can be like cunts to each other every now and then, or you know, people can be a bit I don't know, not friendly, but empathic to like your neighbor or something like that. But whenever like something really shitty starts happening, when there's an actual crisis, like people really like do come together and really like bond, and everyone's like there for each other and stuff. So even in those situations, people will always try like to help each other, and you know, especially for the kids, they will always try to look out for them and make sure they have everything, you know, because it was also fucking mobilization at the time, or conscription, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Say it in English, you know. So a lot of like dads had to go like to the army, to the military, and so forth. So yeah, it was a pretty strange time, to say the least.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I mean, because, you know, like I was reading up on this because it's very hard for me to remember. Obviously, I'm a little bit older than you, but you know, like my memories of that time period are, you know, yeah, Bill Clinton was all right. I mean, because that's what you think at the time, right? You know, because it's like, here's a guy, you know, he's a powerful world leader and he's playing saxophone and he's laughing and joking. And you think, yeah, Bill Clinton's a really cool guy. And that childlike view of this president, as it turns out, was pretty much every Democrat in America had that childlike view, and still does, actually.
I'll tell you what the opinion of Bill Clinton is in Serbia.
Oh, so I got an idea.
So when Jason was coming in, when he like was confirmed that he was gonna come to Serbia, I told him, Jason, listen, you need to behave. Like if you start being like all tough guy, if you start calling me out or some shit, I'm just gonna push you into the crowd in the club and say, this guy is American and he loves Bill Clinton. And then we'll see what happens to you.
They're absolutely despised. The Clintons are absolutely despised in Serbia.
The thing is, like back then, obviously no internet, no anything, and that whole conflict in the media was depicted as like Serbians were like fucking terrorists. We were like, ethnic cleansing is like a term that's being used a ton when it comes to our region and all the conflicts, and you know what people were doing in Kosovo and so on. Which obviously doesn't really depict the reality that was happening at the time. So, you know, I can't blame people who are just watching the news and saying, wow, like if you just do that and have no other information or no other point of view, you know, how can you think anything else? Why would the media lie to you? But as we've learned since then, and especially recently with the internet, social media, and so on, things aren't like always as they seem. And I think what was going on in Serbia back then, or with Serbia and all the bombing, I think you can just see that scenario happening in recent history in some of the other conflicts across the world. You know, so it's sad that the things worked out that way, because for a very long time, and still to an extent, there's like a stigma around Serbia and the people here, which is, you know, complete opposite of how things actually are like.
Yeah, well, I mean, it didn't help. You know, it's kind of like one of those situations where it's like, I was against the war in Iraq, right? But it wasn't because I thought Saddam Hussein was a cool guy. It's not like I look at Saddam Hussein and think, yeah, what a really nice, upstanding human being. Like it doesn't bother me one iota that he got caught and executed. I'll sleep well at night knowing he's not alive. That's fine. And you were in a similar position in Serbia, because you had Slobodan Milosevic there, who's like, I obviously not being Serbian, I don't know what your perception of him is, but globally, this guy was considered like a vile person who didn't respect his people at all and was guilty of some atrocities. I mean, you're right. You hear the word ethnic cleansing and genocide get bandied around. Actually, a United Nations court ruled that that didn't happen. People forget that part, that the United Nations themselves said there was no genocide in Serbia. But Slobodan Milosevic, the Western perceptions are that this guy was one of the great evils, and when he died awaiting trial in The Hague, people actually think it's a miscarriage of justice that he never sort of had his day in court. So, I mean, what's your kind of thoughts of Milosevic as a Serbian?
I mean, again, back then I was still pretty young, so I couldn't have, I don't have any established opinion about him. But I feel that the general consensus is, that no one thinks he was a great leader or a great Serbian, or all the things he did were right. But I think you need to put it in the context. It's very difficult to talk about Serbia and not talk about the whole region, because with the rise of Milosevic, with the fall of the old Yugoslavia, you had rise of, because what do people do? Most people just want power, right? And the easiest way to get power back then in politics was to play the nationalist card. We are the great Serbian people. We're better than the Croatians or the Slovenians or the Bosnians or whatever. We, need to have our own great state and things like that, which is all bollocks. Of course, then you have you had the same thing with Tudjman in Croatia, with Izetbegovic in Bosnia. So that was all the, you had similar leaders in all of the countries. The thing is that Serbia, because we were the biggest country and had all the military of Yugoslavia was basically in Serbia. That's where the head of the army was, and and all that shit. So that's why we had the most power, and we were the focal point of all conflict. And that's why everyone was they are the bully, they're the big dog, pushing around all these countries who just want independence for themselves, and they're not allowing them to have it, which is not 100% true, but it's a lot more complicated than what it was portrayed back at the time. But I mean, if you want to talk about NATO and NATO bombing of Serbia, I personally don't really think that it was much more than just finding a way to prove that NATO still has a purpose. Because when I was looking into it, and later on, obviously not when I was fucking 8, but it was at the time a lot of questions were being raised about the necessity of NATO, about all these countries putting money in and resources, especially the European countries. So that was a sort of a conflict to prove how NATO is still a major peacekeeping force, and how all these people would be so worse off if it weren't for NATO to step in and to de-escalate the situation. But again, all the initial conflicts which were happening down in Kosovo were again fueled by foreign powers. I mean, it's people having their own agendas and picking little warlords or so to kind of get to why don't you do this now, and go for
what was it? It was Arkan, wasn't it? It was the fucking.
He was the Serbian one, but that was more. That was more about the civil war. That was in the 1990s, prior to the bombing and so on. But it is what it is. In the end, it's the people who allow themselves to be manipulated like that. I don't think you need to be a genius or need to have extensive knowledge of history to realize that all the countries you have now and all the people here were far better off in Yugoslavia than they are now as singled out countries, right? Even the countries that are in EU, like Slovenia, have their problems. They're probably the ones that are best off.
Yeah,
but I mean, they're a very small country, so yeah.
So obviously we'll get on to eSports in just a minute. This is the last sort of observations I want to make, because I was fascinated This sounds like such a weird thing to say, but when I was younger, like I was a big history buff, and I was like fascinated with the history of Yugoslavia, like because I read all about Tito, growing up, and
Tito was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I mean, though. It's super interesting, right? Because you look at countries where they've had revolutionary socialist leaders, right? And very often it ends incredibly poorly. The market can't sustain itself. People go hungry. Tito, for me, is an example of like that moderate path. That this is somebody who rose to power, talking about socialist values, but actually in the 50s and 60s. He was saying, you know what, market socialism can work. Like we can have socialist values, a welfare state, but we still need capitalist elements, or the bottom is going to completely fall out. And he was kind of the guy that held, Yugoslavia together despite all of these tensions and diverse ethnic groups right up until he died in 1980. And to put it in context, Margaret Thatcher, who is one of the most vile human beings I think who ever existed, even she cried at Tito's funeral.
Tito,
just a great guy.
The only world leader who could say no to Stalin, right? And I still think that to this day, his funeral was the funeral that had the most world leaders, or like leaders of state, heads of state, at any funeral like ever. So obviously, I mean, again, Tito, if as always in history, you will find like flaws even with him, but I had a discussion about this with Anders. You can imagine how that
well, he just says it's Anders. Simulation, right?
Yeah. It was at ECS. They were talking about the British election or whatever, and he said like Jeremy Corbyn is a communist, so we got into like communism and socialism and Tito. And I was saying like, listen, some people, like I truly believe some people need like quote unquote a dictator, right? They need an authoritarian leader like we had Tito, like the Russians have Putin, for example. I feel that people like ours can only be in line when they have a strong authority leading the nation. You will hear from everyone like those are our grandparents. Like whichever grandparent you ask, the fucking 50s, 60s, 70s, those were like the golden times. That was like when you had everything. Yeah, like you literally did not want for nothing because you could go on holidays. Like the country had everything. You had Croatia, amazing fucking seaside to go for the summer. You had the mountains in Slovenia, in Serbia for like winter holidays. You had like so many things. You didn't have to like travel to fucking Europe. You didn't have to go to Paris or anything unless you really like wanted to see the Eiffel Tower, right? We had everything in that country, and it's true. It wasn't like communism like it was in the Soviet Union. It did have elements of the free market, basically, and in that sense we were unique. Another big thing why that system worked was because of the non-aligned movement that Tito formed with Nasser, Gandhi, I can't remember all the people. It was like the Indonesian president as well. So it was like, for people who don't know, it was like the countries that were not in the Warsaw Pact, which was the Soviet Union, or the fucking NATO, or the Western powers. And in that sense, you created like a market in itself, right? We were selling so much like military equipment and training to all the like to Egypt, I don't know, Middle Eastern countries and so on, exporting so much stuff. That country was just like, it was, one of the superpowers, maybe is too strong of a term, but one of the big powers in the world at the time.
Yeah, but that's the key thing, isn't it? I mean, you can't just be a superpower. We know who the superpowers are. We know it's basically America, Russia, and China, and everyone else is forming these kind of alliances. It's crazy to think, there was at one point that you say that unified Yugoslavia went into all these alliances with other countries, and was strong economically, was considered a major player on the world stage. And then when this sort of independence came in the absence of Tito, and all these countries start breaking away, and you sort of devolve down into almost petty tribalism in a way in the region. It's crazy to think that like I say, there's whole generations that'll never know this history, like, because we don't teach this in schools in Britain. We definitely don't teach it in America.
Yeah, I think it's a huge shame actually, because Tito was such a major figure. There wasn't anyone who can like replace him, as you can in China, for example, like how their system works. So in Yugoslavia that wasn't possible, and then with all the like different players or people wanting to like get power and get in control, then the small like clashes start. Then you have like outside powers seeing like, okay, maybe this is a way to break Yugoslavia up, make it like, to get rid of them. Why do we don't want another like strong nation in that region? And then it all like slowly escalates from that point on. And I agree, that was just like that. The Civil War was probably the darkest period for this region ever since, 100% since the Second World War, right? And for me personally, of course, I'm Serbian. I love my country, but I would be down for Yugoslavia like straight away. I don't remember whose quote is that, but that like nations should be formed by language, right? People who speak the same language, they should be the same nation. So obviously not literally, but I think for this region it makes sense. You could see like the different industries where we had like amazing companies, and we didn't have to import almost anything, right? Of except like, definitely nothing that was a necessity at the time. And now all these countries are like, yes, you have independence, but are you living any better than you did like 20 years ago? That's the thing. I don't think combined like these countries have the GDP that Yugoslavia had like 30 years ago or something like that, when you look at it adjusted for inflation and all that shit. So yeah, it is unfortunate how everything worked out, but I think that's because of the mentality of people here and the mindset.
Yeah. So look, just before we're going to move on to esports now, I promise. But it's just some numbers I wanted to get out there because people don't know this, and it's back to the American bombing. I just quickly got the numbers. Interestingly enough, there's a quote here from Hillary Clinton. I'm with her, where she's actually bragging about how she urged Bill Clinton to bomb Serbia.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right? Yeah, she's actually saying here, I urged him to bomb. And boasting about it. Right. And they dropped a total of 14,000 bombs falling on Serbian targets, 2,300 missiles. And the targets, for some reason, which I'd need to speak to Bill Clinton about this, I guess, they were deliberately targeting civilian buildings, including monasteries, factories, like what you just said, because they wanted to destroy Serbian infrastructure for some reason, television stations, hospitals, and schools.
Yeah, all true. And they also used missiles with depleted uranium in them. So in the areas that were bombed the most by those bombs, you have like in some areas 50% increase in people who have cancer. Like 40% increase in people who have died to cancer compared to 15 years ago or 20 years ago. So those and I think depleted uranium takes like 4 billion years to. Oh yeah,
it's got a mad half-life. Yeah.
So it's like those are some repercussions that are going to be there like for generations to come. And the fact there definitely were like civilian targets. A lot of like I don't know how many bridges. It's something ridiculous like. I'm not gonna lie, but at least a couple of dozens. So the infrastructure of the country was targeted, the power plants and so on. And it's like you got into the conflict about Kosovo and about the military and all of that, and then you end up on. That shit could have escalated so much when they mistakenly bombed the fucking Chinese embassy. That was like the Chinese were obviously livid about that. Who knows what happened there and how that shit got sorted out. But that was a major incident. That building is like, or where the Chinese embassy was like very close to where my apartment is now.
Wow.
But yeah, you had that. Then you had like things about, I don't know, the Russians. I think the story was they wanted to give aid and send like planes, but then last minute their permission to fly over Hungary was denied by the Hungarians, and Hungarians joined the EU like 5 years after that, or something like that. All those like countries around it, Romania, Bulgaria,
all those secret
who were on the flight path. But yeah, that was definitely like, that bombing was, I mean, the national television as well at the time. I don't know, I guess they'll put that under propaganda, so that's why it had, you know, a lot of innocent people died for no reason, like a couple of rail yards where they hit a train, you know. And it's always like, you know, I'm objective, and when you're in a conflict and, you know, people are bombing you, there's going to be like collateral damage, but, you know, there's so many children that died for no reason, like at that period. It's just, I don't know, for me that whole thing is a major disgrace.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I tried explaining this, Janko, last election. Why can't you, you know, why don't you support Hillary Clinton? No fucking way. You know, it's like no one has a fucking memory in America. You know what I mean? They just remember like whatever the talking point of that week is. It's like, look, this is, you can just go look this up. It's there. They're not hiding it. They're not ashamed of it. Yeah. You know, this was, I mean, it was such a narrow vote as well in America to even approve the 1999 bombing. And UN weren't on board with the intervention at all.
That was another thing. Yeah. It was against the UN resolution. Like that, you cannot, like that was against UN like rules or whatever. But, you know, if you're America, do you really care about what the UN has to say? You know, that was like I think, I'm not sure if it was the first example of a country being attacked by other members of the United Nations without it being justified.
No, I think it was.
Or however it goes, but you know, that's another thing that shows you how these things, like how relevant are they in practice, right? And in real life, actually. So that's why every time I see, you know, a conflict or a scenario happening somewhere else, I'm very, very, you know, aware that things are not as they're being depicted. I think one of the big ones, obviously, in recent history, for me at least, is Libya. Is like another one where a country that was doing pretty well for themselves, I would imagine, is like just getting, you know, targeted, their leader being thrown, and that country is now in fucking turmoil. Like, don't even have like, it's like two countries in one basically. And, you know, but people look towards their own like interests or whatever, you know, the NATO in that case, or whoever, the US or Russia or all the big powers, they have their own agendas. And, you know, little countries or small countries like mine are just like pieces on the board, you know, just pawns pretty much. And that's the reality. So obviously sucks for it to be my country, but
well, you know,
it is what it is.
You're in some esteemed company. I'm sure that plenty of countries got stories like that. But let's get back to the esports part of the story, because it seems fucking crazy to me based on what I know about, you know, countries in that region, especially ones that went through this kind of conflict, that esports would kind of be a thing at all. I mean, I know we're fast forwarding a great leap, but I mean, you know, it doesn't seem a pastime I would readily associate with the Serbian people. So how do you even fucking get into that?
Yeah, I don't think it still isn't to this day. Or actually, recently it's been getting better the past couple of years. But yeah, mostly it's like, you know, as a kid, very few people actually had like a PC, you know, and had games on it. So if you like go to someone's house, it was actually a thing. You go to someone's house, they have PC, and you like spend night playing games and shit like that. So I was like very fascinated by PC and by games like very early on. I was one of the lucky ones to have one when I was like 8 or 9. Basically. So yeah, I was, for me, how I got into esports or into like competitive games or whatever was, I actually played basketball for a very long time, for like 10 years and everything. So I was like pretty competitive in that sense. Then I just started playing CS with some of my friends for practice. They were like, oh, this is super fun. Do you want to play it? And then I actually played CS like when I was 10, 12, 13 every summer. We would like, it gets too hot a bit during the day, so we go just to a PC cafe, and it was like CS and Dota, pretty much the game that were being played. But obviously that's some fucking ridiculous level of running around with Kriegs and shotguns. But then we started playing, like, later on, I got hooked. I started playing on like some public servers, right? Just 32 players and shit like that. I made a few friends there. People invited me like to one team, then the other team, just playing some shitty online leagues like tier 500. But then gradually I got better, got invited to like better teams, and then I actually had a team that was competing like in Serbia and in the region, like in 1.6, and sucked for a decent amount of time. But that was when I really like got into eSports, and then saw how it's like to have a team and practice, and start watching like international tournaments and all these guys playing. And that's when I really like dedicated myself to trying to be a better player, trying to improve my team, and trying to get. I was never like, oh, I want to be the best player in the world. I was just like wanted to be the best first in my like small thing.
Why dedicate yourself to esports, say, over something like basketball? I mean, especially in the Yugoslavian region, there was like this sort of proud tradition of, I mean, you had a domestic basketball league. Yugoslavian players would and Serbians especially would go to America. There was some in the NBA, there was some in the major European leagues. Like it's kind of like Olaf Meister has that story about how he got injured and he started playing Counter-Strike, right? So I mean, there's got to be something that stops you focusing on this 10-year path for basketball.
Yeah, to be honest, like it's nothing as exotic as Olaf Meister. I basically just realized that I suck. All right. Not literally, but
that'll do it.
Like you need a certain, I thought I was gonna grow taller than I did. For example, I stopped at like 185, which is not optimal. My like physique wasn't like at the top, and I just didn't like by the time, that was almost me getting into like senior like levels of competition. Like I think when I stopped, I was 18 at the time, 18, 19 perhaps. And I didn't get to a level, where I would be in one of the teams in which I would have a future. I didn't manage to, get a spot in one of those teams. And basically what just happened is, while I was still practicing basketball, I just started playing more and more Counter-Strike, and I found myself like, I actually want to play Counter-Strike more, like practice with my team or play a game, then go to like basketball practice, because I didn't really see a future for myself in it. And if I can't be like a full-time professional basketball player, I'm not gonna like waste my time like going to practice or something. I'm gonna do something else in my life. So that's basically how that happened. And at the beginning, it didn't really like use a lot of my time. I was still going to school and stuff.
I was going to say there would have been no way you would have even entertained the notion that this could ever pay. I mean, it was a hobby, right?
No, not in my wildest dreams. Like at the time, I was just having a lot of fun competing more than anything else and playing the game. So I was just enjoying that very much. And I was just. The thing is, like, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, LANs are like the big thing, and back then in Serbia, we had a LAN pretty much almost every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks we had a LAN. And going to a LAN with your friends and just having fun and shit talking the other team and all of that was a lot of fun. So that was the whole point of it all.
So you had a team. Like, who were they made up of? Like your very kind of first team that you committed to and started to get good with, because was it hard finding players? Like, it must have been a fucking nightmare.
It was like, I mean, there's a lot of people playing Counter-Strike. Even at that time, there was a lot of people playing Counter-Strike in Serbia, but it wasn't to play eSports. People playing like public servers, and you would learn of a tournament like in your city, and then you would just get the 5 friends you play with, and then just go to that tournament. Like the true teams that were like practicing and maybe going to tournaments like to Greece, or to Hungary or to Czech Republic, those were like very few, maybe like 1 or 2 at the time. So yeah, my first team was like they invited me, like one of the guys who was like the best on our public server, basically invited me to a team, and he had two more friends from his hometown who were playing the game, and the fifth guy was another guy from the public server where we played at, and we just like, okay, let's form a team and let's try and practice and let's go to this tournament and see where we're at. And the first tournament we attended, we played against some guys who were like the veterans of the game at the time. They were like, you know, super well known. And I can't remember if we won 16-14 or if it was a tie. I think it was 15-15. So we had that, and we lost to some other team, and we went out in groups. But that was like, fucking hell, like we know who these guys are. We actually had a good game against them. Maybe we're not as shit as we think. So after that, we started playing more. Obviously, then you start switching players. Some players are not, you know, don't want the same thing. They don't want to put in as many hours, and then you change about, and gradually we started improving as a team. And then I got some offers from like better teams, so I moved up. And at some point,
what were the offers predicated on? Was it because you were like a good player in terms of fragging or everything? But in my mind, I always picture you being like the in-game leader of the teams. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like the in-game leader of my team because no one wanted to do it, and I'm so competitive that I'm gonna do this because you all are fucking retards, and someone has to do this if you're gonna beat anyone. So it started by that, but I was also like the op even back then. I always loved using the op, and back at the time, I guess you could say I was regarded as like an up and coming young skilled player, you know, that people wanted me in the team because I gradually. I don't know, if you look at the time who the active players were, but I was about the best opper pretty much at the time because I just practiced so much, man. I think I know where Markelov stands in 1.6 to this day, on every fucking map. I think I watched more demos of Markelov in 1.6, Markelov, Freeze, those guys than anyone else. But eventually I got invited because of skill, not because of my in-game leading, because in the teams that I got invited to, those upper teams, I wasn't the in-game leader. I was just a player, sure, giving some ideas and helping out and stuff like that, but I wasn't the main caller of those teams.
So when you're playing, I mean, where's the when do you start to even think about, right, we can compete internationally, there might be something here, there might be a way to make money, there might be a way to achieve a little bit of notoriety, maybe I get to play at an international tournament. When does that penny start to drop?
I think in 1.6 it was only one team, and that was the last team pretty much that I played big time for. It was a team called Playmore. At the time they were the best team with Belgrade Online. Those were the two big teams, and they had the great in-game leader of CS in Serbia 1.6, Haiba, who went on later on. I think he still plays World of Tanks with Kazna crew. They're pretty good. So I got invited to that team, and that was team filled with the best players in our country and everything. Everyone was taking it super serious. I was so hyped because I'm playing for the best team or whatever. I had at that point you couldn't get to practice against the best teams in Europe, so they were one of the few teams that could actually get a practice against Navi, against Fnatic, so being on the server with those guys at the time for me was just fucking wow. I watch this guy all the time. Now I'm actually on the same server as him. So that's when I really took it seriously, and we were playing qualifiers for WCG and things like that. But unfortunately, after a month or two, Haiba just fucked us. He just decided to quit playing for some reason because he had some personal issues, or I think it was just some bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
And that
personal issues always are bullshit. I find, most of the time.
We tried to mix something up after that, but it couldn't really work. And that was basically when I kind of gave up on Counter-Strike in 1.6. That was already beginning of 2012, end of 2011. I think it was dying out a little bit, and I think that was the year where I started going to uni, or probably the year when I was finishing high school, starting uni. So I was like, yeah, I guess I need to focus on this more. But then with CSGO, right, because I used to play in a team with Kassad as well. We played in a team for a while together, but we were playing a lot of like tournaments as a mix and so on. So he approached me, or I don't even remember how exactly it happened. We were talking about CSGO when it came out, because not many players were willing to switch. Also need to realize this, like, most people have shit PCs, especially at the time in Serbia. So not everyone had a PC good enough to fucking run CSGO like at a realistic level.
Yeah, I remember when it came out. Yeah, it was there was a lot of people that were kind of moving across from 1.6 that had to deal with this sudden spike in, setup requirement,
Yeah, so I remember playing the game when it came out or something very early on, and I didn't like it. And I was like, yeah, whatever, it feels like shit. And after a couple of months, we attended like 2 tournaments just, for fun in Belgrade. And Nico was playing with us because he played in Kassad's team towards the end of 1.6. And then we were like, why don't we like try and form a team? Let's try and play. Let's like make the best team that we can at the time, from the best players who are willing to like commit themselves to the game. Because CSGO, it's like a fucking level playing field at the time. No one has a head start. Everyone's starting from scratch. It's a new game, so your opponents don't have as big of an advantage as they did in 1.6. So we just started playing, grinding it out, and there was that Mad Cats tournament in Vienna. I think you were casting it with someone from the Face It offices, and that was our first tournament, international one. We actually bought in the tournament ourselves. Like, we paid for the fee and for the hotel and the travel and all of that stuff.
So wait, which event was that?
That was the Mad Cats Invitational Vienna, 2013. Like,
yeah, shit. The company I was working for did organize that. I think I was over in the Face It offices in Milan.
Yeah,
and it was me, War Clown, Jay Atkins, and DDK, I think.
Yeah, so that was our like first international tournament. They barely let us in. We had to pay up front so that we guarantee that we're gonna come. So we go there. We like see the teams that are in our group. It was like Lemon Dogs with Twist, Zype, and all of those guys. Berg. It was 3D Max with Oscar, Guardian, PHP. Who was it? It wasn't Stico. It was Banky and one more guy. Can't remember. And the third team was LDLC, which was Maniac, Apex, GMX, and those guys. So we're like coming into the tournament, and we're like, Lemon Dogs at the time were like the 3rd rated team in the world, top 4 at DreamHack, I believe. So we just go in, we prepare for all those teams, pretty much, and we go in, we beat Lemon Dogs 16-8 with losing both pistols. We beat 3D Max like 16-13, 16-14, and we thought those were like the 2 of the strongest teams in the group. We had no idea who the fuck like Apex was or we only knew Maniac because he played 1.6, right? He was the only player we knew. So we're like, yeah, these guys should be the easiest game we'll have, and they like beat us like 16-3 on Nuke or something like that. So like that was like the 2 group stage tournaments. So then we go into the second group stage. We beat the UK team called Red. We lose to Very Games, I think it was, in our group, and then we played the Russian mix, Nostalgia, with like Overdrive, Dosha, Hooch, and all those guys, and we actually lose to them on our strongest map, something like 16-10, where we felt like, well, should have beaten them, but whatever. And that was like, it was a huge upset. No one knew who we were. We knock out fucking Guardian and PHP. In Swords, they were a big deal. Lemon Dogs and so on. And that's when
I swear to God, PHP is one of the best all-rounders I've ever seen in any version of Counter-Strike. That might sound a bold claim. That guy was fucking insane. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, and so that was like the biggest thing we got from that tournament was the fact that we got the invite into the main practice group at the time, right? So then we could get to practice against NAP, against Very Games, against all of these teams at the time, which really like helped us improve exponentially, because when you play against those guys, then you figure out, okay, this is working, this is not working. Okay, you can't play the game like this, you have to play it in a different way. We got a couple of invites in some tournaments. That's when you had the old EMS raid call thing, which really you could like just playing online you could qualify. So that's where when I started feeling like, okay, if we actually like work hard enough, we can put ourselves on the map. We know we are better than some of these teams who are like competing in these leagues. We know that we can beat them legitimately. And I guess that was when I really got into the, esports aspect and thinking, okay, we can actually like do something here if we're not retarded.
Yeah, well, it might not have worked out that way, but there's like an interesting kind of chapter in your career. Now, obviously, people who've seen you on a desk know for the longest period of time, you had a very bad addiction problem. You were addicted to mouse sports. And that's one of the worst things you can ever be fucking addicted to. That's worse than crocodile to be addicted to.
At the time.
Yeah, right. And that was predicated on the fact that you knew Nico, and you knew Nico because you'd played with Nico.
Yeah.
You were kind of like his first in-game leader and mentor as he was coming through. So this is like super fucking crazy that one of the best analysts we got in CSGO also happened to play with one of the best players in the world and possibly of all time in terms of overall skill ceiling. So how the fuck, because I got to say as well, a Bosnian and a Serbian having a good fucking relationship is pretty wild as well. So I got to know how the fuck you met this kid and what you saw in him and how you got him on the team.
Oh man, that was so mad. Like I remember Nico was he like 11 at the time or 12 when he first started coming in to, actually I'm like probably like 13, something like that, 13, 14, 12, 13 years old, whatever. When he started coming to like LAN tournaments in Serbia, first with his like cousin who's still playing and a couple of guys, because his parents own like a PC cafe from the like city where he's in. So he would like get, he was there all the time and he would get a couple of guys. They would come to a tournament. I shit you not, Richard. He had to put fucking books on his chair so he could see, so he could like sit properly behind the keyboard and a mouse. Like it was ridiculous. His parents had to come with him, obviously, he's just a kid. So his parents were escorting him to tournaments. And he was the biggest fucking pain in the ass you could ever imagine early on. Like I think I deleted him from Steam like 10 times at the time, because all the time he was just like mix ? CS ? Like he was playing all the fucking time. It was insane. And he was like, at the time he was just some little kid. Like what the fuck does he want? We have our own group of people who mix up and play 10 mans and so on. But he was so persistent, man, and he got better and better. And then finally, a group of guys from another city in Serbia, Novi Sad, invited him to play with them, like to come to tournaments, because he was just so individually skilled. Yeah. And he was, slowly honing his craft and so on. And I think actually the guy who gave him his first chance, like properly in a bigger team who could compete in tournaments for titles, was Kasad. He played with Kasad, and Kasad was the first guy who kind of started mentoring him and all of that, and helping him become a better player. Even though for a small period of time he thought Nico was cheating, but
no, but I mean all young players go through that.
Everyone, yeah. But yeah, that's what happened, and eventually he started getting better and better. And then in CSGO it really took off. Like when we started playing, like ever since the beginning, he started putting a lot of hours in, learning the game, and he was just so sick. I won't forget, like, the first practice we have against NAP, and we were like, ooh, it's like NAP, man. These guys are, like, so good. They haven't lost the game. They're probably going to wreck us, but, it's nice being on the same server as fucking Forest and Get Right. Yeah. So we'll play against them. It's us two, and they're wrecking us, and some round we were, like, on B on the T side, and Nico is, like, in a 1v4. With the bomb planted, and he just fucking destroys them in a 1v4. And you have like fucking Forrest writing in all chat, nice one. And Nico is like, wow, like, and shit, screenshots it or something like that at the time. So from very early on in CSGO, we knew that he was fucking insane. And for me personally, looking back at it, it's fucking embarrassing to have a player like that on your team and not being able to do something like truly significant, like not being able to make a major or at least make one of those. We attended a couple of international tournaments. There was that Star Series one when the guys got third and fourth and so on. But I feel like we could have done so much more. It's just that as we were talking in the previous part of the show about, you know, the mentality of people here and so on, it's just that some of the players were not like dedicated enough, and that was the big problem actually in our scene. There was no talent to pick from. Like, I could not pick anyone. I couldn't kick a player because I didn't have anyone to replace him with. Like, not even remote. Like, if I had someone who was like young at least, and he was like relatively shit, but I could see that they would like put all the time into it, it would have made sense. But, you know, you just couldn't. So you had to try and make do, but that wasn't going to work out.
So what was your relationship like with Nico? Because first of all, obviously, we still haven't really got into if there was any Bosnian Serbian tension. Second of all, I know you got a big fucking personality. I've been out drinking with you, so I know what you're like. And I've seen Nico, and I've been out drinking with Nico, and I know what he's like. And People at home, you don't need to go drinking with Nico because you see him. You remember him from the Mouse Sports days. Shut up, losing his fucking mind all the time. So was he, because he was younger back then as well, he's obviously matured and developed a lot, you know, since then. But was there any tension between you as a strong-headed in-game leader and him as this, you know, clearly the best player on the team and a young guy?
Actually, there was absolutely no tension because there was nothing you could like. There wasn't nothing that would annoy me about Nico, so that I had anything like to say to him. You know, he says, "What the fuck are you doing here? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" Not just in a sense that he was like a great player. You know, you have players who are skilled, but they're toxic as fuck. But Nico wasn't anything like that. The only flaw that Nico had as a player was that at the time, you know, at times he would just be too aggressive. He would get like 2 kills, and then he would hunt for a third and like fuck up, and I would say like, just don't do that. But as a teammate, he was fucking great. He wasn't like, he was always trying his best. You know, he was trying to lift the spirits of a team. You know, he was quiet at the time. He was younger and all of that. But, you know, there were no issues. And the whole Bosnian-Serbian thing, I mean, he is like in Bosnia, but that's like the Serbian part of Bosnia pretty much. So I think he considers himself probably more Serbian than he does Bosnian. But there were no tensions with him. If anything, me and Kassad always had like problems with the other 2 players in the team, right? Because it was always like about talking to them and trying to explain things and how you need to be more focused in practice and how you need to like improve yourself, because, you know, it was just a pain in the ass. Same mistakes repeating themselves and so on. But with Nico, it was always like smooth sailing pretty much. That's why I was, you know, obviously when you see the shut up, think people like, oh, he's so toxic, like he's yelling at his teammates. Like in that situation, he was yelling shut up because they were still talking about the round that ended and he wanted to focus on the next round. Obviously, you probably shouldn't still yell at your teammates, but he's just so super competitive. And I don't think he should be an in-game leader. I don't think
I definitely agree with that.
He's mature enough for that as of just yet, but it's just that he's so competitive that, you know, he doesn't have as much patience as you need to have as an in-game leader, you know, for your teammates, because mistakes are bound to happen, but you need to have a proper way of dealing with it, you know. And granted, he didn't have the best examples to learn from, like Kassad first and me as well can get very emotional and very aggravated in some situations. More than we should have at times. But yeah, with Nico, it was nothing but a great time playing with him. Just watching that little cunt, the things he did like in games and in practice, blew my mind. I was like, how are you so good at this game?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about Kassad as well, because it's so crazy to me that this fucking team, right, that you know, in fucking Serbia produced the best player in the world, arguably, all right, one of them. You know, I would say one of the best analysts in the world. That's you, in case you're wondering. And then obviously it produced a successful coach as well in the form of Kassad. And, you know, certainly if you look at his career and how it's kind of ended up, you can't make any great claims to say, oh, he's one of the best coaches in the world. But here's what I will say about Kassad. I think he's viciously underrated. It's like people just forgot about him. Like Mouse Sports until now, where they've suddenly come alive again in the absence of a star player and getting rid of Spiddy. But before that, they looked the best when they had Kassad. It was after they got rid of Kassad where things really started to go to shit for them. And now he's at Renegades, right? And that's fate worse than death, I imagine, for a coach right now. But he's like a smart guy. I've talked to him, and I think he's a really underrated coach. So again, same sort of questions. Did you have any inkling he might go on and be a coach? And were you always impressed with his mind for the game?
I mean, about coaching in the beginning, it wasn't even a thing. But yeah, he always had a great mind about the game. He is very good at reading the game. He, during the course of a game, realizing what your opponents are doing and figuring out what's the best way to counter what they're doing, right? Even if it's something very simple, but he had a good grasp of that. And I think for him, the goal always was eventually to become a coach, even for our team, because his mechanics weren't really great. But as long as that wasn't the main obstacle for our improvement, which it wasn't, he kept on playing and he did the dirty work for the team as well at the time, right? So I think when it comes to coaching, I think, with Mouse Sports, they got playoffs at E-League when he was there. They managed to qualify for the major, a couple of results here and there. Also, the thing is, what do you have to work with, right? In terms of players, in terms of the team as well. With Renegades, he didn't have a stable roster for some time to begin with, had to deal with that first. And it's a problem of who can you get to your team? Renegades is not Team Liquid, not in the sense of financial, power, or in the sense of people wanting to join that team, right? So you can't just pick any player that you like to fill that hole. But I think he does a good job. I think, obviously, as most other coaches, he's one of the examples where he could do a lot more if the coaching rule wasn't there, right? Because he can give a lot of great ideas mid-round as well, and during the game. Now he has to focus more on just preparing the team, analyzing opponents and pointing out things. But yeah, I think he can do a lot for anything. With Renegades just now, they managed to qualify for DreamHack Masters Malmo, which is a huge thing, right? That's going to be a big tournament, managing to beat Team Liquid in that qualifier. So unfortunately, they couldn't qualify for the major, had a couple of very close games, but some obvious flaws in their game. So I had a lot more confrontations with Kassad than I had with
I can imagine that
with anyone else. Because
you occupy similar space, right? He kind of wants to be an in-game leader type. That's why he went on to coaching. You are the in-game leader, and you've got your philosophy as well. So yeah, I imagine you guys were cats and dogs.
He is even more strong-minded than I am, and at times we would have arguments. We meet up together for some boot camping just 2 days prior a LAN tournament in Belgrade, just play from a PC cafe, just to get that practice in. And we would actually get into an argument, and he would walk away from practice, go home or some shit and say, I don't give a fuck, I'm not going to play the tournament, fuck all of you guys. Something like that. And Nico, obviously coming in from fucking Bosnia, it always ends up him calling him come on, man, I came all the way, let's just play. We can beat everyone, no problem, blah, 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 blah. But that's the thing. We didn't really care about tournaments here. Obviously, we wanted, we haven't lost a map for a year and a half or something like that in our region. But we were always focused on trying to compete internationally, right? Trying to break through and all of that. That's why eventually I left the team after we won one of the bigger regional tournaments that we had at the time, because I saw that players were simply they weren't willing to change. They weren't willing to put in the hours and put in the work that we needed to put in order to really be able to compete with the best. And I just didn't want to waste my time anymore, basically.
So while we're just here and we're talking about coaching, and we'll start talking about moving into analysis and all that stuff in just a moment. But I got to pick your brains about Peacemaker. I actually reached out to Peacemaker. I think he's going to come on the show at some point. I think after the major. But obviously, you know, we've seen the way his career's kind of gone, and he's gone from being a very well-respected, high-profile coach to kind of, he gets a gig, the team seems to, disintegrate, and then he gets a trial, and then there's rumors that he's making these outrageous demands that he wants the org to buy the players he wants and he won't work with anyone else. And then he loses that and then he goes somewhere else. And now he's like the coach for fucking Tai Lu, like a standing coach for Tai Lu. Like, what the fuck is going on, Janko? I mean, because he's a smart guy and a talented guy, but he seems really fucking stubborn.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously from the outside, it looks like he just has a specific way of doing his job, which seems like he requires a lot of authority within the team, and it just isn't something that, you know, a lot of players or a lot of orgs are willing to agree to, right? I even believe the initial reason why he left Tempo Storm at the time to join Team Liquid was in order for him to be able to in-game lead the team and have more control of the team, right? And you can see how he's had some good results with Team Liquid primarily and so forth, but it doesn't seem to last. And you wonder, like, if he can actually find a team that's willing to like comply with those demands, not obviously like buying the whole players, but just like give him like absolute control. What could he do, right? Is that what he needs to really make something happen? I personally believe that, you know, he should probably self-reflect a little bit and see, like...
Yeah, I think he has now. He did that interview, didn't he, where he said he was going to revise his approach to coaching, which I think, you know, like, you probably should have done that 3 jobs ago, really. You know?
Yeah, because there's been a lot of teams there, right? It's been the NRG stint, the... Optic
briefly with Optic,
yeah. So, you know, that gets your reputation of sorts as well. You know, why are all these teams passing on him? Blah blah blah. Players talk between each other as well. I think for him, still, it would probably have to be one of the, like, you know, lower tier teams, like up and coming teams, because with those teams you can have more control. Because, you know, you can't walk into one of the best teams in the world and be like, yeah, you're going to listen to me right now. So I think it's going to have to be something like that, and him achieving some results with a lower tier team, and that in that sense, like proving that he can still, you know, make a team better, and basically that he has kind of adjusted a little bit. Because I think, you know, everyone needs a coach these days with the amount of competition going around. I think that the staff around the team is expanding. We see teams not only having coaches but analysts as well in their team. So if you really want to be a top tier team in the world, you kind of need it. Unless you're SK and you have Fallen, then you're fine.
Yeah, then you're definitely fine. So you're let's fast forward again. You've stopped playing at this point, right? I want to talk about that process. Like, why did you decide to do that? What did you think you were going to transition into? Because I'm sure, you know, for all your talent and self-confidence, you're probably still a little bit surprised that you're like one of the go-to, you know, like you are now an official part of the broadcasting landscape in Counter-Strike, and everybody wants you on a desk. You know, we'll definitely get to the E-League major in a second, but yeah. So at the point where you quit, why did you, what did you think you were gonna do?
I wasn't really sure I was gonna do anything. Like, the thing, while I was still playing, it was Game Pub, my last team. I saw the whole observing thing like happening, and eFrag had like the European Championship at the time still. So I just offered them, they want me to do this for you guys, you know, just whatever, pay me whatever, I don't care. They were like, yeah, sure. So I did that. I actually had to observe with 2 keyboards on 2 different feeds at the same time, because their audio feed and video feed couldn't come from the same PC. So awesome. if I would spectate only on the video one, right, the sound would be off. So I had to be on the same player on both Go TVs so that the sound and the picture would match, right?
Right.
So I guess once you start observing like that, the normal thing isn't really difficult. So Petar from HLTV asked me if I wanted him to recommend me to like tournament organizers if they need someone, and I was like, yeah, sure. If it doesn't clash with my like tournaments or some practice, it will be fine. And then we started playing. We played the Katowice qualifier, and we lost to fucking Rain and the JChem and the Party Astronaut team in like 2 overtime games or something retarded. I actually rewatched that recently because I talked with Nico about it and with Rain, and Rain almost made me want to kill myself because he told me that like he only started playing CS like 2 months before that or something like that, and he was just fucking destroying us, man. It was so depressing. So that was like really, that kind of put a nail in the coffin because Nico actually after that time, after that, I was, listen, like, either you guys want to fucking put in the hours and put in the work, or, like, we're not playing. That's it. I don't want to, like, waste my time anymore. I don't want to keep, like, because I was, that time, I was Dean Game Leader, so I was, like, doing everything, preparing the team, like, spending my majority of my day on CS. And then Nico actually stopped playing CS at that time. He said, no, I'm going to take some time off. He and one more guy, like, weren't playing CS for 5-6 months. Like Nico actually wasn't playing CS at all, and then later they came back. So after that I did Katowice for ESL. Then they invited me to another tournament, Winter Finals, and Star Series invited me for their tournament to observe, and that's where I kind of saw that okay, I'm their go-to guy now for this. They have a bunch of tournaments. Like, I'm still going to uni, you know, I still don't think this is going to be my career. I'm looking at this as like a side gig, great, like, you know, side money and all of that, but still focusing on my studies. But that's when I slowly, like, looking at the desk and everything, I thought that, you know, there's a niche here that can be filled. And after a couple of tournaments, like, let's say maybe the summer of 2015, I was like seriously trying to find a way for myself to get onto a desk, right? To get a chance to do some analysis, even at a smaller tournament.
So, I mean, it seems like such a fucking crazy leap then. So, you know, you're observing, you may be doing some analysis stuff. I mean, how does that door get opened? Because you see a lot of people who are like, they, you know, it's always the same complaint, right? The Counter-Strike scene is so incestuous. Everybody knows each other. It's jobs for friends and, you know, all of this stuff. No one could ever break through. And it's like, I mean, it's just not true. I mean, like, you know, you broke through, Sadikis broke through, you know, there's all these examples. So what was the first major door opener for you, like, that got you put on a desk and actually, you know, in front of an audience?
Yeah, that was, I mean, the first event I did, or how I got to my first event.
Well, how you get there, because I think the process is important. Like, because again, just imagine this. You know, you're working the majors. You're a retired player from Serbia, Janko, right? So people believe
my pedigree.
People believe it's not possible. That path can't work. So I think it's important to talk about the process of like how you get to the big show. You know?
I think the biggest thing was just hanging out with all the people, right? The talent, not so much the talent, but more so the people in charge of hiring the talent, right? Like Joe Miller from ESL or Mark Winter from DreamHack, and we sit there, we talk about CS, and I guess, you know, people are like, this guy actually, like, you know, sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And stuff like that. And I was always pushing. I was talking to Joe, saying, come on, Joe, like some smaller tournament, like I can do both, you know, I don't need to like be there for, you know, I can only do a couple of segments, you know. Same to Mark, same story. And, you know, they were kind of, I mean, ignoring me. You know, they didn't give me a chance for a while. And then it was the Cluj qualifier, which was in Stockholm, that the DreamHack was running. And that's where actually DreamHack invited me to do it. I know Mark has been asking around, you know, for people he could invite. And I know, like, he talked to Petar from HLTV, he talked to Anders, and they both said, hey, you can give this guy a chance. He knows what he's talking about. So that was like my first event I did in terms of analysis. Then after that, it was like, you know, the TWC with you, Scoots and Duncan.
And our mutual friend Availer.
And a mutual friend Availer, that now, of course. And it was also San Jose, right? Was the one where, this is the thing. For San Jose, I get hired as an observer. So I bring some of my stuff. I bring like a jacket and all of that. I was talking to Joe, like, can we make it? Can I get on the desk as well? Because like, we'll see, kind of avoiding me a little bit. And then at the actual event, it was Sambler who was doing the desk or someone. So I talked to him, said like, well, would it be okay with you if I like talk to Joe and get in like to do like one best of 3 or whatever? He's like, yeah, man, sure, go for it. So I'm like talking to Joe. It was like, okay. So I do it there. Then the DreamHack won the Face It finals. And that was pretty much it. Like for 2015, there weren't that many events. But then like in 2016, suddenly it was like, everyone just inviting me. Star Series, DreamHack, ESL. That's when Pro League started bringing in analysts for the online part as well. So I did a lot of that, and that's where it really took off, kind of.
So how did you feel you did in those early days? Like, what was the reaction? Because look, and again, you know me, I always give it to people straight. I remember having arguments with people back then when you were coming through. I was like, again, one of the guys who was out there saying, this is a talented dude. He's going to do really well. But one of the things that always used to get spammed whenever you were in the chat was fucking Resident Sleeper, right? They'd spam the Resident Sleeper, say, oh, Janko's so boring. He's a bit like a robot. He's not very emotive. And I'm like, yeah, but like, listen to what he's fucking saying. The rest will come. The showmanship will come. It's not like Thorin just woke up one day and said, I am now the Lord of Banter. You know what I mean? You build up to it. You find your role. You find your character. And, I was trying to explain this to people, and people were just shitting on me like, classic, you're wrong, just really dismissive. So, I mean, if you're anything like me, it's like I'm confident in what I do, but I still can't tear my eyes away from the criticism. And I read it all, obsessively. So how did you think you did compared to how you were received to begin with?
I think the big problem for me, or the big thing for me, was initially I was much more worried about what I was saying than how I was saying it. So I focused the most on like that the things I was saying made sense to other people, and that I was filling out the niche that I was talking about previously. And because of that, I didn't really think about things as pace, as being concise, right? As focusing on pronunciation and things like that. So that I obviously, like at the beginning, I used to rewatch all of my VODs like very, very recently. I had words that I was repeating a lot. So that's something I focused on very early on for my vocabulary to be more diverse. So about that criticism, I mean, I felt like, I don't know if it was maybe a bit too harsh for how I was doing. I don't know. I think it's hard to self-evaluate in that sense. I think it was fair to an extent.
Yeah.
But I also think that I, started improving fairly quickly and started working on those other things as well. Pretty much.
So, I mean, what does that entail? Because, again, when I first moved out here, I started getting kind of a bit of some elocution lessons, started working with people. I was starting to take on a slight American accent. And then, it kind of just dropped on me. I was like, you know what? Fuck it, man. You got here pretty much by yourself anyway. So you're obviously doing something right. I don't need to change just because it's a TV gig. So I stopped doing it and started being a bit more just myself, like if an American can't, appreciate my roguish accent, fuck it, man. I mean, I'm not going to change who I am fundamentally to do it. But I did go through the process, and I know what it's like, and I know how fucking hard it is to do things like change elocution, avoid repeating phrases like mine is, or do you know, or and try and iron those out. So what kind of process were you going through to eliminate those kind of verbal tics?
So basically, I was watching like a lot of the VODs, and then just it was pretty obvious. Like at that event in Stockholm, I was saying like so many times. It was my every fourth, fifth word was like, because I was struggling to. I was thinking so much about what I was saying. I wasn't really putting so much thought into the words I was using. But yeah, it was a lot of VOD review. And then it was also after I kind of established myself, after I got like comments from people or players or within the scene, like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Or my peers. That's when I was like, okay, I've established myself that I'm not talking bullshit. Now I can focus more on, improving on these other things. So it's just like being aware while the show is going on, as I'm coming to the desk, that, okay, remember to be energetic, remember to not repeat the same phrases, think about it more. And obviously, like, practice makes perfect, right? So because of all the work that I was getting, I was doing so much that in itself it was getting better and better. About the accent thing, I was thinking about it because on one side, I really like listening to myself, rewatching VODs. I don't think it's at a level where people can't understand me or anything that. I think it maybe depends on, some words because of pronunciation, right? So, and on the other side of things, right, do you want to make yourself like sound more, whatever, like, like it would be easier for people to understand, like lose the accent a little bit. So I'm not sure whether it's what's more beneficial, the fact that it's part of my personality, or the fact that maybe it would be more suitable for TV tomorrow or something like that. I was looking for a while, like back then, early 2016, I was actually looking for a voice coach, but there's not a proper voice coach like in Serbia, in Belgrade, that can help me like that, or at least I couldn't find one pretty much. But again, I was traveling so much, I wouldn't have
the time to do the lessons.
So what I was going to do, for example, maybe a little bit, I planned to do it while I was in LA for ECS. But again, because of LA is so fucking gigantic, everything's so far away, I didn't even have the time to do it. So I've been looking at some like online or Skype potentially lessons, just to try it out, to see how it's like, and to see if it's something that would make sense for me or not. But I think it has improved significantly over the course of the past year and a half. And yeah, I don't really think it's that big of an issue. I certainly don't think it's an issue that's going to, cost me work or anything like that.
Well, I was going to ask this later, but I'll kind of slip it in now, because it's sort of on topic. I mean, a lot of people were disappointed when you weren't part of the E-League Major Talent team. I'll be honest, I was disappointed. I wanted to get you out here in Atlanta and show you my city and take you to some of the places, same way you did for me when I went to Belgrade. Yeah, exactly. I do know what you like. So, one of the things was, I'd kind of, like, I in the early days when we first started E-League, I did have input in talent. I sort of told the network who was good, what their strengths were, and who we could use, and what I felt would be a good dynamic. And the network were very receptive there. But what I quickly realized was that in doing that, it was weird for me to sit in the green room, because it's like there was this perception suddenly from my friends and people I'd worked with for years that I was a corporate network guy. And I'd be like, oh, hey, fellow talent. And they'd be like, can we say stuff in front of you? Can we make
good afternoon, Richard.
It's good afternoon, corporate overlord. It was like that for a little bit. And there was some bumps in the road that, I won't talk about on air, because, what goes on in the green room stays in the green room unless we get hot mic'd, which happens more and more these days, it seems. But after some of the bumps in the road, I realized, like, I don't want to lose the relationship I have with the guys to kind of, and it's not as important now to be that guy, to serve Turner in that capacity, because we've done, by the time the major came rolling around, we'd done 2 seasons. We knew who the talent were. We knew who their strengths were. You don't need me anymore to say, yep, Anders is a good commentator. You don't need that, right? So when the talent announcement came in for the major, I was like, oh, well, Janko will probably be there. It'll be cool. And then you weren't. And I don't, honestly, I'm still kind of like, if the reason was they didn't think an American audience would get your accent, certainly that was like never communicated. Like, I think it was almost like they wanted that continuation of talent that had been on the regular TV season. Like, that was more of an influencer. But I was still like disappointed, because like I just because my friend wasn't going to be there. But obviously, I imagine you were kind of not pissed off, not sour, because we all miss majors. I'm missing this one that's coming up. Thorin's missing it. We all have to. There's so much talent. But I mean, in your development, did it feel like a blip in the road?
Obviously, I was disappointed. I mean, it sucks to miss a major, and especially because I knew that E-League, Turner does a great job. Obviously, the E-League both seasons were amazing in terms of production and everything. So yeah. I knew that the major itself is going to be great. So, and that it's going to be exciting in terms of teams, in terms of competition and all of that. So in that sense, it sucked a lot for me not to be there. But to be honest, like, despite, like people telling me, we recommended you and things like that. We talked to him, he said, like, you really need to get him there. It would be like a shame or a disgrace if he's not at the event. I somehow always thought that I wasn't going to get invited regardless. So I never got like any hope up. I certainly wasn't expecting to be invited for the tournament. And, even though it sucks a lot, still in the grand scheme of things, for me, it doesn't really change all that much. I knew that still I was going to be hired by organizers. I knew that I was going to get a lot of work, that my schedule is going to be fairly similar as to 2016. So in that sense, it wasn't, that big of a deal. For me personally, like when I look at it, like, it was strange, the fact that they had like 3 pairs of casters and only like 2 analysts, because you also get fucking reamed out. I had to do a couple of gigs like that. Yeah. You get no breaks. You just, at that point, the problem with that is, with that level of fatigue, you don't really enjoy like working as much, and it sucks because we love our job. We love like talking about CS. You have great games, and it's hard at times to get hyped for something when you've had a 14-hour day 2 days in a row, and now you're going into a 15-hour day, right? Yeah. And that's when kind of the performance drops a little bit as well. Again, at the end of the day, it's like it's Turner's product in a sense, so they get to pick the people they work with. Obviously, I can't like hold any grudges or anything like that. So yeah, in that sense, it's kind of it kind of sucks. But for me, as I said, it was a bit obvious that for whatever reason, I don't know the reason, that they don't really see me as part of their show. That I fit into that. So I mean, not much I can do about that. I am what I am in terms of like personality and my work and my focus. So what can you say about that one?
Well, I'm pretty sure you'll get there eventually. I think working on the accent thing might be something, but it's like, in terms of quality of the work you do, in terms of what you bring to a desk, I definitely think America can cope with it. I mean,
also the major wasn't on TV. I mean, was it only the final?
Yeah, the final was on TBS. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Even if we'd pulled you, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I recused myself from that because I wanted to maintain.
No, of course.
But equally as well, because I think in a way I can almost understand it, because you're right. The apart from the workload, right, which is fucking mental for analysts. People don't realize that. Analysts and hosts don't get no breaks in the traditional sense. Casters, If you're doing the second block of games, you have a lie-in. You don't have to be there for the call time. We open the show and we close the show. So we're there the entire time, and we've got to watch all the games. So a 15-hour day, 2 of them staggered absolutely kicks your ass. People don't realize that. But what I will say is I think I don't even know if it was an assessment of you, right? I think what Turner we're thinking is, me, Moses, and Duncan are the face of the product. We've done 2 seasons. Do you want to introduce someone new at the major? So I think that was kind of like more the thought process rather than any indictment of you.
The one thing that did bug me a little bit in some of the comments, or because I don't really pay too much attention to like comments and stuff like that, but I kind of look through it. But there were a lot of comments with like, yeah, his like style doesn't fit and his personality and all of that. I just like, people are assuming that I can't adapt myself to a different type of a show. It's like you have different shows this time around. ECS, more laid back, more casual. Like maybe something like ESL obviously is a bit more structured, a bit more serious. So you kind of adjust yourself depending on the environment, right? So it would be, maybe I could do it, maybe not, but I would, that's something that you can at least try and do. And it's something that you need to do, right? You need to be able to adjust in this landscape in order to stay on top.
Yeah, and look, if it's any consolation, I went through all that shit as well. I remember when like eSports streaming shows started. I remember being told by very prominent people in the industry at that time, you'll never be good enough to do a show. Like you'll never be. Crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? But like they were like, you'll never be able to like sit on a show, be interesting enough, talk. You'll never be able to do the camera work. And then when I started doing that, then it was like, oh, okay, well, you'll never be able to be on a desk. And that's why, even though I was, a journalist and a reporter at the time when the first majors start come rolling around for CSGO, nobody thought of me to be on that desk at the DreamHack Winter. It didn't look like I was going to get a look in CSGO at all. In fact, if it wasn't for Robert Olin, the former kind of co-owner of DreamHack. I mean, my first hosting gig was StarCraft, for fuck's sake. I never played that game competitively at all. So it was just like, then it was like, when they announced me for StarCraft, everyone was like, oh, this guy's gonna fucking suck dick, like this is nepotism, cronyism at its worst. And I went in and did the job, and end of day one, it was all, the classic Reddit threads. Can we just take a minute to say how well Richard Lewis has done? Everyone's like, and the thing is, I know it's cyclical, right? Like you'll get those threads, and then a month later, it's like Richard Lewis is a fat, washed up, alcoholic piece of shit, a garbage human being. I hope he dies of cancer. And that'll just be allowed to go to the front page of Reddit. No one has an issue with that. And everyone will be like, yeah, I never liked him. Same guy who said a month ago, he's the best, isn't he? You just gotta roll with the punches. I mean, people will consistently write you off and tell you what you can and can't do. And my approach has always just been that single-minded, look, I know what I'm fucking capable of, and it's whatever the fuck I put my mind to. And what I always do is I always just make people come to me. Like I just do what I do, and then eventually I know someone's going to have that humiliating, we wrote you off 2 years ago, but we'd really like to work with you now, And that's what gets my dick hard, Like that's when someone comes to you and goes, I was completely wrong. Please come and help me. So I'm sure you're going to get a lot of that just in general over the course of your career as well. Because people don't even realize you're still relatively new at this. Like, I mean, you think about how long I've been in the fucking scene doing shit, and then what? How long have you actually been an on-air piece of talent for? Is it like 2 years?
It's going to be 2 years in September.
Yeah. Like, so do you know what I mean? It's like that's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what you do. Like all the time with all the work, you just keep learning new things, keep figuring out, what is it that would work for the show better and so on, trying to moderate things. Like obviously I can go on a fucking tangent on the desk about something that I see in a game and talk about it for 10 minutes, right? But it's about, that's a skill that people some maybe don't realize from the outside. You need to be able to, point point out the important things, but do so in like a concise manner and a manner which would be easy to understand for people who are not on the same level in the game, right? So you point out there, oh, that's actually why, you know, this happened, and then A led to B, which led to C. And, you know, there are a lot of people out there who have a great knowledge of the game, but maybe not as great, you know, either delivery or this. And I certainly didn't have it when I started working initially, but it's something that you really learn by reviewing your own VODs, by talking to people. You know, all of you guys that I've been working with the CSGO talent pool have been a great help, you know, like giving me tips, telling me like maybe do a little bit less of that, maybe do a little bit more of this, focus a bit more on this. So I remember it was DreamHack, like when I first had the like pointing out the demos and everything, and everyone was like fucking hyping me up, and there was the Reddit thread and all of that and so on. And I remember asking you, like, because I knew that you are no bullshitter, so I was like, so what do you think about this whole like segment thingy and all of this? And you said something like, I think it's really good content, but you need to like make it fucking shorter. It's like you talk like for too long and like people lose track of what you're talking about. And I respect that. Like, it's, you know, that's what's saying, okay, so this is the main thing I need to like work on next. And it's always like that, you know. And the thing that it's the latest is like, you know, not the showmanship, but, you know, entertainment, making it all a bit more enjoyable for the viewers, because it seems like no matter how difficult it is for me to say this, that, you know, the desks are more and more becoming like about fluff and about like filling time and entertainment and all that stuff than they are actually about some like serious analysis. So you need to have some sort of like entertainment, or at least a way to keep people's attention to what you're doing for that to have value.
And that's what annoys me so much when you see these people again on Reddit and they start breaking down like everyone's individual talents. They don't seem to really understand that a desk is the sum of the parts that go into it, right? Like, you know, you can't just isolate Thorin and say, well, he doesn't understand the game and he just makes jokes and edgy banter for 12-year-olds. And all he knows is the history. They don't look at the desk and go, well, he might be sat next to an ex-pro, so why the fuck would he need to know about the game? Because we got an ex-pro who knows about the game. And obviously, let's say I'm the host, I'm not going to go to Thorin and go, well, what about that revolutionary boost, eh? I'm not going to ask him that question. I'm going to ask you that question, and I'm going to ask Thorin the question. And of course, you know, this team's always historically failed on this map. And then Thorin gets to go, yes, actually, because I've memorized Liquipedia somehow. You know, they've only won on Inferno 2 times in the whole of 2016. You know, this is how a desk operates, and it seems to me crazy that people are like, you know, oh, what we, you know, like they would want you and like Sean Gares or something to come together, and then, you know, and we just, that's all we would ever talk about is stuff that happens in game. There would be no like, you know, big picture stuff, and that's fucking terrible for people at home. I think that's a poor broadcasting experience. Equally, you know, I'm not too keen on desks where we don't have an ex-pro, and I include Moses as an ex-pro. You know, I think having somebody like a Thorin, or, you know, somebody that can be a bit more contextual and somebody who knows the game, I think those are the things that work really well. And I think we're going to enter into a golden age now, because we're starting to get some players start to retire, start to get to the end of their careers, and they suddenly start expressing an interest on coming on the desks. You know, we've seen Freiburg do it recently, and I think we're going to get this golden age of pro players. I think being an analyst is going to get a lot harder. There's going to be a lot more of us, you know?
Yeah. Hopefully most of them keep playing for at least a year or two until I secure my future here in Serbia and establish my real estate empire, and then I can ride off.
No, but I think you're all right. I don't think you're going to go anywhere. One of the things that I really want to, you know, point out as being something that that definitely plays to your strengths is that it really annoys me that we haven't had the tools for a long time. This is one of the great things about E-League, you know, when we started building in like telestrate segments and having Moses draw on the map and show flashbangs and smokes. And then DreamHack did the big screen one, which you did. And everyone was like, oh, Janko, the weatherman. And having that tool there is like super important. And it should just be mandatory for every broadcast.
Yeah, I think it's like amazing. Like in essence, the way, one, it makes me look much better. Two, it makes it so much easier for people to understand, right? Because if I'm just talking about something, it seems a bit abstract for some people, if not most. But then when you actually have the opportunity to pick out a round or even just draw on the minimap and explain to things, it's much more easier for them to understand. For the show as well, it brings an extra element to it, so it's not as stale. And I agree, like it seems like this year most like big tournament organizers and most big tournaments have that feature. The Masters tournaments for DreamHack, most of the ESL tournaments as well. So yeah, it's obviously a great thing to have. To touch a little bit on what you said about diversity on the desk, I agree 100%. That's why Duncan is my favorite person to be with on the desk, because we're like the complete opposite. And I always know that whatever my first point is, that he's not going to say it, because, you know, we talk about different things, but we can complement each other very well, because what he explains, like, or what I explain in practice, in-game, he can translate it to people in like context within the team or within the history of the team. And especially when I was doing that with you and him, then I don't have to worry about any fucking entertainment. I just focus on my own thing. I slide in with a cheeky, you know, deadpan comment every now and then.
Yeah, you get the dry humor in, the dead, you know, that is the joke. It's all good.
That's so much easier for me when I don't have to initiate banter, rather just participate in it every now and then.
Shit, well, I remember, man, what was that event? Oh, God, where Paolo was the desk host.
Oh, it was me, Duncan, and Paula. That was the tournament in Split.
That was it, counterpit. Put your cans in the air, and I mean, it was like that must have been tough on Paula, because obviously, you know, he's not really. I don't think he's been a host before or since. And I can't remember. I think I got asked to do that, so I think they were like scrambling to get a host, and Paula had to kind of do it at the last minute, I think. And then you guys are a fucking nightmare at the best of times. Like, you got to have a firm hand. So it was unreal, like some of the shit I was seeing there.
And on top of all of that, we had like so many issues at that event that like we had a segment where we had to fill for like an hour and 15 minutes. So at some point we got into like talking about if we were to make a movie about esports, which actor would play which like person in the talent crew. It was like mad. I had to mix the sound, so I had to like turn us on when we were going live, like on the actual audio mixer, and turn us down. So I was fucking around with Paula as he was like signing off. I would just mute him or something like that, or play with it. Then his mic.
I remember there was loads of parts, like, because I was getting up to watch that. I was watching that in my living room, like drifting in and out of consciousness on the couch, and you know the delays are so fucking unreasonable. And like I could tell, like you had this fucking you're terrible at hiding your smirk when you're like doing something cheeky, right? So I knew you were fucking with him, and you just hear Paolo go, well, I can't hear anything. I knew you were twiddling with the fucking knobs or something. I knew you.
Yeah, but it was a little bit of me messing with him, but it was a lot of issues as well. So then we had Matt come in as the host from the caster crew. Like, it was just, that event was mad. But yeah, we once you have all those issues, you know, and when it's a smaller tournament, what can you do except like have fun and start with the banter, because that's the only thing that's going to keep people still watching, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just on that point, you know, I'm gonna ask you about Thorin in a second, but filling, dude, like people don't realize this. Like one of the things I absolutely fucking hate just about the community, but like just also the way that it pans out in the industry, is that when you get asked to fill a segment, like this is the great thing about E-League, because if anything, we want to talk more, you know. But like E-League's philosophy is let's get into the action. The games should be front and center. You know, the human element, and you know our segments will be really short and just talking generalities. You know, for that reason. And you know, I hate when you go to a tournament and you get told, right, we've got a tech problem. We don't know how long it's going to be. You've now just got to pull shit out of your brain and entertain an audience of tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people, and not cross a line. You mustn't cross a line, though. If you do that, you're scum. So people are doing it. Like people are scrambling because you can't have dead air. And then people say shit as it comes into their head, and you don't have time to analyze it, pre-analyze it in your brain. Is this a good thing to say? Is this joke sensible? Can I get away with this culturally? And then somebody will say something wrong, and everybody on the fucking, you know, Reddit forums, on Twitter, well, that was super unprofessional. I should never have been in that fucking position. You know, I should never have been in that position to begin with. I'm just trying to entertain you at home. All right, I said a bad thing. I shouldn't have been on air. So the two things that will kill careers and cause so much stress is filling and hot mics. And the people who fuck up are the tournament organizers, and they never take responsibility for that. You know, like when someone's in one of those scandals, you never see like ESL come out and go, yeah, well, you know, he was on air for 40 minutes of fill time, and I'm sure he just made a mistake, and that's our fault. No one says that. And, you know, you saw it happen to Machine recently with It's a Fucking Shit Show. And, you know, everyone was like, you know, oh, this is a bit unprofessional, isn't it? It's like, it's not, dude, there was loads of problems at that ESL event, and it must have been mega frustrating. And here's the thing. Hosts do talk to production, you know, when things are going bad. You ask Jason Baker, you ask Alchemist, me and him have there's no friction in the relationship, but we talk honestly. Like if I fuck up, he tells me like, you weren't supposed to go there. That was bad. Or, you know, if he puts me on a wrong segment or doesn't tell me what I'm doing next, I'll say, dude, I got to fucking know that. And then we go have beers and it's all fine. So Alex, perfectly within his rights to say that. Right, it went out live on air, and he got a bit of criticism for it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Actually, like that day one had a lot of issues with the servers and everything, but more issues were like for the casters. They weren't really satisfied with their setup initially, but you know that got fixed. The problem with that one segment was like the main producer had to go to the like arena to set up like for the arena days and so on. So this was like the secondary producer, and I guess he didn't know how Alex likes to work or whatever. Like he gave him some wrong cues, like for things that were supposed to come up. So Alex was like frustrated about that because he like threw to like a video didn't come up. He threw to a stats like or a graphic that didn't come up. He threw to a tweet coming into a lower third that didn't come up. So by the end of the segment, he was like pretty frustrated. But obviously, like hot mics will ruin you. But about the feeling thing, yeah, that's like for me, that's especially difficult because, you know, political correctness isn't really a term that exists in Serbia, I believe. So like we just say mad shit all the time. So for me, I'm like super fucking scared like about making any jokes that may be perceived as edgy, because for me to know the line between what's just edgy banter, haha, and what's just like outright, you know, bad to say, it's very difficult to find that, as I've learned like in some occasions that have thankfully gone not as noticed, like opening ESL 1 Cologne last year with like saying that some game was going to be a cripple fight. Apparently that's a very bad. That's a very bad.
That is bad. People like the word cripple is considered disrespectful to people with physical disabilities.
Because for us, it's like, so, you know, it's like, you know, we use it like in Serbia. It's actually in fucking CS. It's when two people are fighting each other and spraying, and they both miss their spray. You know, one of the two always says, "Well, that was a fucking like crippled fight, wasn't it?" Whatever. Let's move on. Let's move on from that. But that's the reason why I usually just like, you want to make a joke, leave it to Thorin, leave it to fucking whoever the fuck is there. Focus more on the CS, make some light jokes, do a couple of, you know, deadpan, dry humor jokes, and that's it. Stick into your comfort zone. But yeah, I agree. I think like a big deal with that, what helps a lot with feeling is mostly about the host, right? Because the analysts generally we can fill for like hours, right? But
yeah.
It looks better when the host kind of has either a prepared or can think of a good question on the fly, and then we can have like discussion. You know, sometimes it's easier in some tournaments. You maybe had some roster changes or some upsets or some patches that gives you a topic to talk about. Sometimes it's like difficult. You know, you run out of things to talk about. But yeah.
So it can be tough. And with that in mind, you know, you've got this relationship with Thorin now. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because, you know, me and him used to be the package. That was like that's what we used to get called because of a quote I said in an interview. And basically what I realized was there was somewhere along the line that while me and Thorin might not agree with everything, I realized that we were at least earnest enough to be about no bullshit. Like, don't lie to your friends. Don't have that, you know, eSports slimy way about you, which a lot of people do, which is they make out they're helping you, but really behind the scenes, they're just sharpening the knives. Like, you know, I'm sure you've got people who come up to you and go, oh, Janko, really want to get you out to this event. And then, like, what they really do is they go to that organizer and go, yeah, we can't have Janko there because, you know, it might take my shine away. You know, that was happening all the time in fucking StarCraft. It was happening all the time. You know, and me and Thorin had kind of come up and watched it happen, and we'd been the victim of so much fucking politics and bullshit. I think we just hit a point where even though we'd said some pretty ridiculous shit about each other, we were like, you know what, we may as well kind of posse up and just make it clear that we're not going to engage in that, and we're going to expose people who do. And then we started working events together, and obviously Duncan likes to speak his mind, perhaps a bit too much, but it's his mind, and that's how he wants to carry himself. So whenever people were like, yeah, Thorin is an outrageous person and all of these unprovable bad things about him, I just said, you know what? Like, if you want me to fucking come to your event and you single out Duncan, I'm not doing it. I won't endorse that bullshit in the esports scene. We're a package deal. Now, it was only ever a one-way thing because Thorin loves money. That's all. Thorin loves money. So it wasn't like Thorin was going around going, and if anyone fucks over my best mate, Richard Lewis, I won't work your event either. No, he worked those events. You know, that's fine. You know, it wasn't like we got together and agreed. I just did it for him because it was, in my mind, the right thing to do. But, you know, so I've been one half of the package, and now I think Thorin kind of figures, because, you know, I'm not in the freelance economy anymore. I don't do as many gigs. I guess he figures that you're the package now, you and him. And I've seen him tweet out, you know, like, oh, who's a better pairing? And, you know, and it'll be pictures of you and him together. So in his mind, it's definitely you two. So let's talk a little bit about that relationship, because obviously, you know, it's an interesting one. Why is it that you feel that you and him have this kind of strong affinity with each other?
I think it's because, for one, we complement each other on the desk very well with our like different styles, and you know, it obviously works for us both when I can say something and he can build a narrative based on what I said, and vice versa. I think he also appreciates my personality in a sense that I don't really bullshit at all. Like, it's not how we do, basically. So that I'm not gonna, you know, whatever, the backstabbing shit like that. I can't be arsed with that shit. So yeah, I think it's mostly that there's a mutual respect more than anything else, and that's why, you know, obviously he made that tweet after the E-League major or after the announcement or whatever. Like, I told him, like, privately, I thanked him for it, but I was like, listen, I would never want you to do that. Like, I'm not going to, if you do that shit, that's fucking retarded. I'm going to call you out on it. Like, you don't need to, it doesn't make any sense for you to miss an opportunity to be at a major or to lose any work because people don't want to hire me. You know, that's their prerogative, right? I tried to convince him to come to Poland, but he was pretty adamant.
It's never going to happen. You weren't around.
I told him, just walk besides me, Duncan, and it'll be fine.
No, yeah, but you weren't around. I mean, like, here's the thing. I think the threats of violence don't bother him. I think the threats of murder maybe bother him a little bit. But I know what really bothered him is when, like, we were in his hotel, in Katowice just after it had happened. And of course, keep in mind, I was one of the guys that had not broke the story, but like, it was already being discussed. Like I walked into a bar and there was like ESL executives saying, yeah, well, that's starring off the broadcast. And I was like, oh, right, because it was an episode of Unfiltered he'd been on. I think I was meant to be on that show, but I ducked out because I was traveling to Katowice, I think. So I think I was meant to be on it, but I can't quite remember. But anyway, we got out there and like it was clear that he wasn't going to be in the show anymore. And I published the story which had the quotes in. And obviously when you write down things and you don't see somebody going like, it looks bad. It looks worse than it was. That was a weird moment because I'd contributed to this blowing up. Now I was under my own unique types of pressure back then. Like if I don't publish that story and someone else does, they get all of the traffic for that story. And I was working for a publication where I was being told we got to keep the traffic up and get our revenue up or people are going to lose their jobs. But I did say to him, like I'd probably, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't do that. Like I don't have to be the guy who profits from the misfortune, But anyway, so we met up because he'd already flown out there in Katowice. So he was just in his hotel. Like he would occasionally walk to McDonald's with his hood up like this. Like it was really surreal. And he showed me some of the threats he'd had. And there were, we're going to smash you to death with baseball bats, that kind of thing. But in particular, there was so many rape threats, Janko. No, this is true. There was cute, like you would look at their photos on Facebook. These huge tattooed guys from fucking Poland saying we are going to rape you. And I think that was why Duncan kind of felt, you know what? Probably, probably not going to go back there. Yeah, there's that. Nah, you're all right.
You can keep
you're all
the
right.
grand, mate.
No, but like Duncan will tell you this, really graphic and explicit what they were going to do to him, which is just unfucking real. So he, you're never going to get him to go to Poland. I don't.
He was a few stones lighter then, so might be the reason.
Yeah, he needs to bulk up. But yes, I mean, you and him, have that good relationship, and is that indicative of like the whole talent pool? Because I think we've managed to negotiate some pretty difficult times in CS because we've got a lot of us. There's a lot of like talent, a lot of us, kind of vying for the same type of work, and then you've got all the tier 2 guys. I mean, that sounds so derogatory to call them tier 2. You got really talented guys down there like Metas and Launders and people like this.
Vince.
Yeah. Vince, as he's now called. So it's really hard. Like, there's not enough room at the table for all of us. But do you think that we've managed to maintain good relationships?
I think definitely that we managed to maintain good relationships. I think a big fact that plays into that is how many events there are, like over a course of a year, and leagues and all of that. There's more than enough work to go for everyone. And if there's anything that's a potential threat to camaraderie, it's the fact that we work so much, right? Because people get a bit burnt out, and then people spend like 3 months not at home but in Cologne, perhaps doing Pro League, or in like LA doing ECS or whatever, and then tensions can flare up a little bit over things that are not really worth any tension going over them. But I still think, like, in general, that we have a pretty good thing going on when it comes to CSGO talent, especially compared to some of the other games. For me, that's a big part of the work. Because going to tournaments, despite it's like a great job and talking about CS, but if you were just going like strictly for work, and you have a couple of like people there who are like acquaintances, but you're not like super good friends, you just like have a drink and that's it, it's a bit superficial, then it would be much more difficult to like do this job, right? Especially the amount of events that we do. So that's definitely something that's very, very beneficial. The fact that we can all go out, have a few drinks, chill, have some fun in the green room. When you have a 16-hour day, like Richard, I cannot explain to you the fucking atmosphere in the green room when Lothar tweeted at us. Like the camaraderie hasn't been that high in ages. We were having so much fun. We were having such a great laugh. I mean, obviously, like it was all just, it was just banter. But
just banter, mate.
Yeah,
it didn't stay just banter, but it was just banter.
No, it was all fun and games. But yeah, it's like,
I don't get what he was even upset about. Like what? Like the fucking. Like what? Like someone wore a black shirt? Like what is he talking about?
I don't know. Like our shirts were like wrinkled a little bit, and we were all wearing, or two of us were like white shirts. A very boring look. I don't know, something along those lines. The fact was that we were like had a 16-hour day. We were already like jaded as fuck. It was the first or the second day of the event for the group stages. So obviously you're not gonna dress up like you're gonna do it if you are for like the main event for the playoffs and all that shit. So it was just like him taking a stab at us for no particular reason, and then we just used our collective power to retaliate.
Sponge wrecked him.
Like
Chad fucking wrecked him.
But yeah, I think in general we have like a pretty good thing going in terms of like CSGO talent. Obviously, all the tiers or whatever. I think there's a lot of great people working on the game, and I think no matter the tournament, people are still going to get like good entertainment and then good product from the talent. And I think it's also another example of what you were talking about previously, how people are complaining that it's all like based on recommendations and like friends and so on. Like we had so many new people come in like this year, for example, both casters and analysts, like with DreamHack Open tournaments. Unfortunately, like the schedule, I would love to do more DreamHack tournaments. I love working with like DreamHack, and the open tournaments are a lot of fun, but it was just clashing, unfortunately, with the bigger tournaments. So that gives an opportunity for some of the other guys to kind of step in and to give it a shot and to see if they can, if it's something they would like to do more often and things like that.
So, we're winding down. We're on the downslope of the show now. So how I always end is sort of talking about what you're going to be doing next. I always feel that, I just... This is just for On Fire in general. I hope Semler doesn't hate me for this and try and put me in a fucking headlock or something next time he sees me. But I think yeah, you definitely would. Although actually, I went drinking with a friend the other day, and we were wrestling. I gave it my back, and I actually got put in a fucking rear naked choke, and I had to tap out. It hasn't happened to me in years. I was super embarrassed. But I'm losing my touch. I'm getting old, But anyway, so look, I think the On Fire guys have this like great collective talent pool. You being one of them, you're in there. Moses is in there, Semler's in there, Anders in there, Vince is in there. Then you've got all the production guys around it as well. But like honestly, you don't seem to produce as much content, I suppose, because you're always working events. But I'd like to see you guys doing more stuff, like the documentaries that you guys put out, or even just you like tune in and, like today I'm going to be doing like a demo and breakdown, like on my own channel or on the On Fire channel, and just producing something, because it's like, I always find like, it's like you guys disappear when the events aren't there. And I want to, as a fan of the game and as people who, I like and respect and work with, I want to see more of you when we're in the downtime. So have you got any like plans to start producing more Janko? Because like the Janko Unchained, I mean, apart from it being a ridiculous name, right, which it's really good. I'd like to see that more often. I'd like to see you kind of streaming, live demo reviews. That content, it might feel niche, but it's always like super popular, I remember when like Sean Gares used to do it and stuff like that. You'd have thousands of people watching like in-game leaders break down demos and give tips and stuff, and I feel like you could be producing some content similar to that.
I agree with you 100%, and that's something that I always like I always like want to do it. But you're right, it's the amount of work, right? When you travel for 2 weeks straight and then you're home for 3 days, and then you're going to go again for, another week or 2 weeks, talk about CS. It's just that you use that time at home to, just not do anything. Like spend just a day decompressing, then you see your friends, and that's it. Time to be on the road again. I definitely like have some ideas, and we even as Room on Fire had a lot of ideas. It's just that people are in different time zones. People are working all the time. But those are all just excuses at the end of the day. Like, I really believe that it can be done if people are willing to put like the necessary work into it and to dedicate themselves, or at least an amount of their time into that. It's just something that we haven't really been able to pull off as of just yet. But for me personally, I was also trying to figure out which types of content should I do. Like, for example, the streaming around the E-League major, when I was just reviewing the games and so on. It did get a lot of traction, like a couple of thousand viewers even, but it felt like it was happening more so because it was just before the games would start. So like people would just tune in and then just continue watching maybe the game. So that's something that I can definitely try out and do, and it's probably the easiest thing to do because it's like just watch a demo and you can always talk about something. While doing a content piece or about something specific, you have to do the research to find a couple of different situations for it to show. I mean, at least I feel like it, because I want to make it like a really good piece of content. But yeah, it's probably something that, I always say this, I'm going to try and do more in the future, but in reality, it probably depends on the amount of time home that I have, right? So,
I mean, this is the thing, I was talking about this with Jason when we were doing the Clash for Cash, and I said, what'd be the fucking dream, right, would be if instead of doing like constant freelance and the vying back and forth, people would just pay more to have the talent exclusive to a broadcast. So, ESL would have their talent, Face It would have their talent, Turner would have their talent, and everyone would get paid. And then you wouldn't have to worry about constant fucking travel. And, you'd know going in at the start of a year, what your schedule looks like. It would just be so much easier. But like, unfortunately, the money's in the freelancing. That's why people do it, right? And it's just, it's a shame.
And sure, it's like you are freelance. You might not get hired at some point. People can go towards someone else. But also on the other side of things, you don't really worry about, what's going to happen with ESL or Face It or with their like product or whatever. You're there to do your own job. Obviously, you're trying to help the broadcast be better in any way you can. But if, they get flagged because of like production issues, at the end of the day, it doesn't really concern me, right? I was there as talent to analyze the games. It doesn't matter for me if the observing is bad or if like they're having sound issues and they have delays, right? It's unfortunate, but it doesn't really concern me as much. And you do feel like eventually exclusivity is going to be a thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the next 2 or 3 years, or maybe in 5, maybe in 7, who knows? But you feel like now is the time of competition, and at the end, someone is gonna come out on top. And to be frank, like it is, even though like maybe we get paid more now with more different events, but eventually it's just like it comes to a point where you really want to have like less of a workload, more of security in terms of what you're gonna do for the whole year, and then you can like plan stuff properly around it. Then you can do things specific for the show, create content for that show, and so on. But yeah, another small problem perhaps is the fact that you can argue how much traction actual like in-depth content gets, in general. Like even when you look at ridiculous things like Twitter, I would tweet during a game, make all these like tweets about what's going on that I feel like are super cool, and then I would tweet out like a photo of fucking Jason with a bandana, and it would get more like 10 times more traction than anything else I've did. That doesn't mean that there aren't people out there who are enjoying, who will be able to pay like for content or anything like that. It's just like, I think it's something that you need to build, right? Me creating, like, if I was really to do this regularly, then no matter what I put out, gradually it would get more viewers and all of that. And that's what I always say. And when I talk to the guys and everything, like, the most important thing is like consistency. Like, you have to be consistent in putting out content. Doesn't matter if the show is going to be shittier this week because we're all jet lagged, or if this is going to be like that, or if you're going to talk about a general topic that's not going to have a lot of juice or a lot of depth to it. It's important to keep putting something out because people will get used to it, and then they will know that you're going to be there to stay, and they will follow you and reward you for it, right? So that's the big thing.
Yeah, well, look, I definitely think you should stick in there and find a way. You know, Duncan does it. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying live like Duncan, because that's that's something else. Like, when it's like, oh, hey, Duncan, do you want to go out tonight? Nah, I'm going to record 5 videos. All right, night. I'm off. Bye. He's fucking unreal with it. But yeah, you know, I think there's definitely a demand there, and I think the key thing is to be like the master of your own destiny. You know, so like, even if the work dried up tomorrow, having like another revenue stream, having like, you know, a content, a place where you as a personality is the product, right? You know, that for me is the key. That's what everyone in our business needs to sort of focus on moving forward. You know, that's what's going to ensure you have that longevity. Interestingly enough, I just want to ask you this. Me and Duncan had a chat the other day, because, you know, alternative streams, like Duncan's super excited at the prospect of alternative streams, where it's like, you know, you don't show the game, so you don't fuck up the broadcasting rights, but, you know, you talk, and people can tune in between games or during a game listening to alternative commentary. And I said, you know, why don't, like, me and you aren't doing this major, why don't we maybe think about doing one? And then I thought, but what if people, like, would it upset anybody? Like, what happened when you did it for the major? Like, did anybody say, yeah, make sure you're not talking when the games are on, do it afterwards or something? Like,
oh no, I didn't do anything while the games were on. I was just recapping the games from day before today's games would start, right? So I didn't like conflict with the broadcast or anything. But
yeah, because the last thing I want to do is like piss on like PGL's fucking event and be like, hey, me and Duncan are doing alternative commentary, you know, like.
I think for what they did, because they did it for Pro League finals, right?
Yeah.
I think they actually, like, Twitch talked to ESL and they said they were fine with it. So it was an issue. It was an issue in that sense. And I know it definitely isn't an issue, because I don't know who brought it up, either Semler or I think it was Semler, like, who asked us, like, did you guys mind that we were like doing our own stream while you were like working at the event? We're like, man, we don't care. Like, you know, so it was a way for you guys to get paid. If people prefer watching that over us, that's their choice, you know, and it's completely fine. But yeah, I think it's something that you would have to probably like either like talk to Twitch to see if like it breaks any rules, or then they would have to ask PGL or something along those lines. But yeah, I think it's something that would be more laid back and we could just talk shit and be a bit more loose. It would definitely be something that I would also like to do sometime in the future, maybe when the next big event comes around.
I've talked about it for years, you know, like just having a common, like an alternative stream where it's just like you can just be yourself and just have fun. And, you know, like one of the things I always loved, again, I'm going to sound like an old man here, is when the DVDs came out. Right, and we used to get fucking the commentary from like the director and the stars in it, and you watch the movie again and you listen to them and they're going, yeah, in this scene, you know, he stuck a fucking laxative in my drink and I, you know, whatever, some fucking story, you know, and that was like one of the best things about the medium for me, when that sort of when DVD started replacing like VHS. So I was like, you know, I've always wanted to see shit like that for you know, esports content. Like, and it's not really there yet, because I don't think anyone's certain about where the boundaries are, like what's offensive, what's going to get you put on a blacklist, you know, this kind of thing, right? So it's definitely something I want to look at. I mean, it might be, maybe we do it like not for the major, maybe we could do it for a smaller event or something, you know, rather than even think about doing it for the major. But I'd just like to just get a bunch of us on a fucking Discord one day and just watch the games, you know, and just have a talk shit drink a few beers and you know, like we would in a living room, and see if people like it. That I definitely think I want to do.
Definitely. Might be our last stream we do, but
yeah, it could be the end of it. I mean, people were saying when Anders and Thorin came to my house for the election, and they were here in my living room for the election, people were like, "Oh, stream that." I was like, no, no way, guys. Like that's a career ender right there. So look, anyway, I know you got to go. So just what's going to be your next event? Is there any content or anything that people should follow? And you know, is there? You can obviously your Twitter's down there, but is there any other social media where people can get in touch? Do you have like a fucking Snapchat where you accidentally upload dick pics or anything like that?
No, I have an Instagram account and I upload it intentionally there. So people can find that on the Twitter. I have YouTube channel 1K CSGO. I'm definitely going to do a preview video about the major. Cool. And maybe something else if I think of something or if I manage to do it, because I leave in like 2 days for Poland. But yeah, major is the next event for me. Then it's basically the player break starts, so it's a couple of weeks off, much needed weeks off. And then, I mean, again, there are a lot of events lined up for the second half of the year as well. The leagues start again. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff out. In terms of content, there are actually some plans in creating more content, maybe not necessarily on my channel, but something is in the works. So I don't want to promise anything or say anything to people, but yeah, just if you follow me, you will be updated accordingly.
All right. Well, look, I don't know why people are spamming the chat asking if you like donuts. You like donuts, I mean, right?
Do I like donuts?
Yeah, it's just stupid.
I'm not really much of a sweet guy. Like I'm not really into candy and shit like that.
That's what all your ex-girlfriends have told me.
I can appreciate a good donut.
Okay, all right, good.
Confirm.
There you go, Henry G. Can confirm. Well, look, honestly, thanks a lot for coming on the show. I know we did a little bit longer than we intended, but, you know, you're an interesting guy, and I had to get the obligatory 40-minute talk about U.S.-Serbian political relations in at the start, because who the fuck else am I going to talk to about that?
Thanks for having me.
No, it's been great. So there you go, everyone. That's Janko. Definitely support the guy, one of the premier talents in CSGO at the moment. And that's going to be it for today. But don't worry, I did promise we were going to have a run of Counter-Strike guests on the show. And you'll have seen him in the chat while we've been broadcasting this. Henry G should be our next guest on the show. God. Yeah, I know that's going to be a good one.
Confessions live on stream.
Well, the thing is, Janko, obviously I haven't known you quite as long as Henry, because I've known Henry since he was like a 16-year-old boy. So I've got all of the embarrassing dad-type stories about him. So I can't wait to tell some of those on air. He's probably not going to turn up now. But yeah, so definitely make sure you tune in for that. We're looking forward to it. The King of Denim is coming to the Richard Lewis Show. But from me, Sam, Janko, we're now going to tune out. Just the obligatory thanks to all the people who subbed and donated and all of that shit and bought T-shirts while we were doing the broadcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube as a VOD, make sure YouTube doesn't unsubscribe you from the channel, because they do that. It's real. It's not a conspiracy theory. I get about 10 messages a day now of people saying they've been unsubscribed. So just have a look. Make sure you're subscribed and you press that little bell thing up there to make sure the content appears in your feed. And there you have it. So until the next episode, take care of yourselves. From everybody at the Richard Lewis Show, goodbye.